All right, guys. We are live on YouTube. We're going to go live on
We are live.
Live video. Public.
Dun, dun, dun. I like the little duck. Is that a duck with the headphones? Is that StreamYard?
You can see it?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. You're live.
That's funny.
We're live. All right, guys. So, no question what's going on today. Dual Coast Podcast, January 14th, Tuesday morning, 8:30 a.m. We're live with the man himself, Frank Sepe, right here.
Yeah.
So, quick introduction on Frank, guys. So, Frank, tell me if I'm leaving anything out here. Director of Media for Muscle and Fitness, Flex, Muscle and Fitness Hers, Olympia, 8 times best-selling author, photographer, International Sports Sciences Association Master Trainer, owner of Sepe Nutrition. Am I leaving anything out?
That's good enough, man. That's you know, sometimes you have like a 20-line bio, and you know what it means? It means you're just getting older. It means you've accomplished a lot, but it's just like, yeah, number one on MySpace. Right?
Oh man, that's going back in time.
Right?
Yeah.
Your MySpace top 10, right? Remember that?
Are we on AOL right now?
You know what's funny? I got hired to be a consultant for this major supplement company, and I was in Manhattan, and there's this really cool office, like, you know, like really, really done up. It's about 20 people in there. They're all millennials. I come in with my laptop. I open it up, and it goes, "You've got mail." Because I still had because I had an old AOL account, and I have the Gmail, obviously, and I was laughing. And I just turned around. I was like, wow, whose was that?
Dated.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
So that's funny.
All right. That's quite the resume, man.
That is. Me and Russ, very similar. Very similar.
Yeah. I can see that our physiques all resemble one another, you know?
Completely.
Well, we all have hair and we're wearing hats.
Yes.
You know, we're upsetting the bald community, I think, because we all have hats. That's the worst. Like in a gym, if I'm wearing look, I've worn a hat since I'm 18, like training in a gym, because I don't like, if I don't wear a hat, I'm always messing with my hair. But then when you take it off in the middle of the gym and people are like, I didn't know he had hair. Like, you know, they get mad at you.
Like, come on.
Yeah. Why are you wearing a hat?
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I was like, because it's easy, you know? Like, I don't know.
Do the same thing. Absolutely.
Oh, man.
All right. So let's see. All right, Frank, we'll spitball a couple of questions back and forth at you, okay?
Yeah, whatever you got.
Let's start up with an easy, simplistic, but a little bit in depth. Who is your inspiration? What drives you? Who is your inspiration? Role models you've had maybe over the years, somebody you've looked up to in your career?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I've had a lot of different careers. I started as a bodybuilder when I was like very young. And, you know, when I competed on stage at 22 years old, I was 270 pounds.
Yes.
So I was like a man child. And obviously, you know, when you're a kid and you're growing up, who's your bodybuilding hero? It's usually Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Like that's the general consensus. It was like Lou Ferrigno, the Hulk, you know, they had Arnold Schwarzenegger. But as a inspiration my entire life, it was my dad. 100%. So my dad was a New York City narcotics detective.
Oh, wow.
And he lifted weights. I started lifting weights because of my dad. They used to call him Tom the Arm. You know, he had really big biceps.
Jacked up biceps.
Yeah. So I have never met or encountered a better man. Just a family guy. Take the shirt off your back. Great guy. So take care of his family. Like, that's my inspiration. Not somebody who's, well, he's, he's got a huge company in Silicon Valley. And well, what kind of person is he?
Right.
You know what I mean? My dad was always to this day, a great, great person.
That's great.
Can you just dive in for a second? Tell us about your relationship with your father.
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually kind of funny because I don't know if you ever grew up in an Italian family with an Italian father. Oh my God. So it's not, you don't get a lot of adulation and his pats on the back. I remember like coming home from the gym. I was young, and he's like, "Why are you carrying those strings?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Oh yeah, those are your arms." Yeah, like
That is an Italian father statement right there.
yeah, like. But when he did give you a compliment, it was great. But my relationship with my father was great. Like, he's extremely funny, no nonsense, great work ethic. I was always able to joke around with my father, and blessed to have him, like.
Sure.
But I was never. I watch kids today in stores and they're so disrespectful to their parents and saying things to them. Like, I would never say that to my father. He's always someone I looked up to. But yeah, I know. We had a great relationship. But if I benched, like, for the weight training, oh, I benched 405. He's like, oh, you can't do 410. You can't do 415. Like, but then you got to take it like when I bought, this crazy house, it was a really big, giant house and this and that. He came over, he looks around, he goes, nice country, America, huh? Good country. And I was, so I was like, yeah, so, but good guy. Cause I had two older brothers and a younger sister. And he was a hardworking guy, like, in
Gotcha.
Queens, New York in the 70s, 80s, 90s.
Sure.
Worked Harlem and
Wow.
hard worker.
Gotcha.
That's amazing.
That was
That's
great.
amazing. That's great inspiration right there. If somebody can identify that their father was their role model, the one that you looked up to, right? I mean, how many people can say that, right? I mean, I know there are many that are out there, but
Sure.
when you think about all the people, right, that you could say that you look up to, that is the man, and your father is the one that, represented you well, taught you well, raised you well,
Yeah.
And I think that's very, very commendable.
Right.
And he's 80 now, and he goes to the gym 4 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah. He
Wow.
has the lifetime Jack LaLanne membership that he paid $49 for back in like the 70s. And I think there's like two places that
Honor it.
He still goes, which is awesome, So yeah, but he still goes to the gym, 3-4 times a week.
That's crazy.
Does he still tell you that you carry those strings?
No, just tell. Yeah, he always has something to say. Like, you walk, if you're wearing like the jogger sweatpants, where you going, clam digging? Like there's always something, which is awesome.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's
That's amazing.
Yeah.
great.
Can I got to ask you something, Frank?
Yeah,
sure.
Tell us a little bit about how you evolved as a bodybuilder and then as a strength trainer, and give us a little bit of nuggets on that.
Yeah, sure.
So when I started training at 13, so when I competed at 20, 21, 20, 21, 22, 23, something like that, 23. My last show, I was 270 on stage. I was the youngest kid in the show. There was all these 35-year-old men, 30, like I was just a kid. I went to
270.
Canada. It was like 30 guys, and one's they're huge, whatever. And I made top 5. I was 5th place in the IFBB North American at 23. All the magazines were like, wow, this guy's gonna be, the next thing, blah, blah, blah. However, at the pre-judging, I was so dehydrated,
Yeah.
which obviously we know what happens when your body's in a state of dehydration and in the bodybuilding community in the past. Well, anyway, my abs started popping out one
Really
by one, and I was pushing them in. And uh I was in such pain. I was on the floor and I was like, wow,
cramping.
this is crazy. And I looked up and I saw my mom and my brother, and I was like, uh, I did not want to do what it was going to take to go to that next level and to keep going, because first I was scared because of what was happening to me, and I was just not comfortable doing that. So I was like, I love bodybuilding, I love training, I love being, the obviously the routine of it, but I never liked competing.
Right.
And I never wanted, like, look, when you're in that state, you have to be the most uh correct my English, unhealthiest person in the world
Right.
when you are in a bodybuilding competition backstage. You know what I mean? Because like your body's dehydrated, you're not eating any food. Like, it's like if you ran a 40-yard dash, you tear both hamstrings. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not healthy. So I was like,
That's
I love
crazy.
training, so let me pivot and go into training and teach people how to, to work out and do things. So I started, I was blessed that when I slimmed down, I was able to jump into the bodybuilding modeling. At the time, they had all these magazines, and, Robert Kennedy from Muscle Mag spotted me, and he's like, hey, we'd love to have you on the cover of our magazine. I was like, wow. So
Right.
that just spit. So when I was like, how can I take advantage of being on these covers? So I was like, if I'm on your cover, I was like, don't pay me. They're like, what do you mean don't pay you? I would like a column in your magazine where I could write.
Interesting.
So I started writing a column in the magazines. And then, it was all about training and this and that. And then I turned that into a really successful training business. So, but the modeling helped. At one time, I was on the cover of like 6 magazines on the newsstand at one time. So it was really easy to get clients, whether or not, sometimes girls would show up at the gym, like, oh, I want to train. I'm like, yeah, we really like, pay you. Or people would just show up, like, so it wasn't hard getting clients because those,
Buying all those
yeah.
magazines.
So
Were
then
you
I was
most of
like,
your clients females?
yeah, yeah, they
Oh
were
my
actually
gosh.
in the days, like in the earlier days. Yeah, most of my I had, yes, I had quite a roster, which is funny. But yeah, so then I was like, okay, cool. Let me see what else I could do with this, and then I started doing like television shows and stuff as a fitness source,
Yeah.
and then obviously progressed to supplements, and I had my own brand on Home Shopping Network. I was a fitness personality consultant on ESPN. So all these things, and I had my own brand on Metrics.
Right.
And then Metrics approached me. For 20 years. I was third party for Metrics, doing all kinds of stuff. I was the magazine editor for like 4 of their publications. I was consulting on their brand. My first athlete I hired for Metrics was 7-time Mr. Olympia Phil Heath,
Oh, Heath.
who
Yeah.
Oh my
just
gosh.
who just won his first pro show, and they're like, who do you think is going to be the best, like, on this roster? So I picked him. I was like, Phil Heath. And the second was Greg Plitt, who at the time was the top fitness guy.
Yeah.
So those are my first 2 picks for that. But I did an infomercial for Metrics called Metrics 180, which I owned with them, and it was like on 140 TV channels a week, and
Wow.
and it was amazing, man. We had like hundreds of thousands of people, and like when you train somebody and you change their life, it's awesome. Like they're like,
Yeah.
there's nothing better. But when you have it in mass and people are emailing you and sending you stuff like, hey, I'm a grandmother. I can finally play with my grandchildren. Hey, I had a massive heart attack and now I'm on the right road.
Sure.
There's nothing better than that. So, yeah, it was, honestly, it was the modeling, pivoting it into into training, and then, taking that into media and just doing, what I love, and making a living out of it, which a lot of people, once they're done with bodybuilding, don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I love that, because we all have a story. We all have a story to tell. We all go through
Yeah.
our experience in life and our journeys,
Right.
right? And a lot of times we never know who we come in contact with and whose life we ultimately change. The majority of people we don't know, but the
Yeah.
fact that you do know that people come to you, and I think that's the greatest compliment, is people don't wait until you're dead,
Yeah.
to say something good about you, but they tell you in front of your face, like, hey, you have changed my life, like
Yeah.
my grandmother, right? You've
Yeah.
changed my life. I can get out there and I can play with kids. And I think that's the beauty of it. You get out there and you share your story. We just don't know who we're going to impact. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. It's there's nothing better, honestly. I mean, there comes a point in your life where you're like, well, what do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to make? But you do all that, and it always comes down to other people,
Right.
And
Right.
it's my friend said the other day when we started Sepe Nutrition, he's like, you realize that all the people that you helped along the line, whether it was in media, whether it was whatever it was, whatever. He's like, not one of them has anything bad to say about you, and he's like, they're all willing to help you and whatever you need now, which was cool. Like I was for 9 years or 10 years, I was president of NPC News Online, editor in chief, IFBB Pro League, all the websites, all their media, all their advertising and stuff. So like when we would do all of these things for the website, I would go to hundreds of bodybuilding shows. We'd go all around,
Sure.
over the years, and we would do photo shoots with the winners, and they would go from amateur. That would be their amateur win, and then then they would go into the pros the next year. So Derek Lunsford, Natalia Cole. Like I met all these people before they were pros. I have a video of me and Chris Bumstead when I'm interviewing Chris Bumstead online at I think it was the Olympia, and he doesn't have a line. Like it's just me and Chris Bumstead. Fast forward to 2023, and the line is a mile long for Chris Bumstead.
Yeah. Of
So
course.
it was amazing to see what he did in that 7 year period.
Yeah.
Like to watch all of these people evolve and like kind of do their thing. But I think what I'm saying is treat people the way you want to be treated,
100%.
because the pinnacle, when you hit the top, there's always gonna be a point where you're gonna come back down. And so be nice to everybody, and just be nice to people in general, because you never know what a relationship or friendship is going to lead to anyway. Because look, we're all human, we all need help at one point,
Yeah.
or we all need guidance. So be kind. There's no reason. It takes more energy to be an ass than it does to be nice,
Mhm.
like, so
It's true.
I don't know. When I go to the gym, it's like, hey, how are you? How's it going? How are you? Hi. And then and then you have the people who are like, I mean, like you crapped in their cornflakes. They don't even want to say. They don't. It's like a chore
The
for them
worst.
even to nod their head at you. Like,
Right.
I don't know. I can never be like that. I don't know.
No, you're right. Better be personable. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
What's the point?
No, I totally agree. Totally
Yeah.
agree. What actually brings us into a good segue right here, because as you're talking about it, so Frank, how would you say that physical exercise itself and the effects of training weigh in on people's mental health? Because dual coast, we try to focus on a little bit of both aspects here, physical
Yeah.
attributes as well as mental health. So how would you say that physical training affects people from a mental standpoint? I know you just kind of weighed in on it a little bit.
Sure. So I had this conversation with Mike O'Hearn.
Yeah.
So Mike O'Hearn, good friend of mine since the 90s, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking about, all right, if there were no magazines and no mirrors, no anything, and we just trained, would we still train? Would we still train? I'm like, absolutely, because when you train, it's like, I don't know, when I train personally, it's more mental than it is physical. I
Yeah.
get so crabby if I don't train like for a day or two, I'm like, oh my God, you see, it's like, you know, when they say you're hangry, you're hungry, you
Yep.
know, like you get angry, but it's that one time of the day where I'm just focused on the one thing. I'm focused on training and, you know, challenging myself and, you know, trying to make myself better. And I have my music on. So it's like, you know, and it's that one time of day when it's just about me.
Locked in.
And, you know, everybody has bills, they have well, if they have kids or if they have, you know, they have problems. And this is the best, working out is the best mental release for all of that. I mean, I don't think there's a better therapy than working out.
Mm.
I really don't, because look, like I said, you shut everything down, and it depends on your environment. And like, if you're one of those guys who's like, hey, you know, talking to everybody, it's a whole different concept. But if you're going there to train and like just, you know, work out and challenge yourself and try to get better, like I said, there's no better, there's nothing better than that mentally, like, you know, because think about it right now, like we get off, we're, you know, we're driving in our car. How many things go through your head when you're driving in your car?
Yep.
100. Oh, you know, oh, I gotta go here, I gotta do this, I gotta call
Yep.
here for work, oh, I have to go
Yep.
over there, oh, my son's going here, oh, I have to close school, oh, yo, yeah, you know.
Yep.
But when you're in the gym and you're training, you're like, all right, you're under the bench. You're
Totally.
like, all right, I'm just going right now. My mental focus is on not getting hurt, getting it here, getting it here. Like it just shuts off your brain. And then when you're done, obviously the physical part of it, like, you know, look, if you're making gains physically, that's only going to help you mentally. I
Yeah.
always think like, you know, if you're in the best possible shape, it helps with your mental, you know, wellness as well,
Yep.
because a lot of people are in the gym. Why? To get better physically, right? Because
Right.
mentally they don't feel better
Sure.
about themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it goes hand in hand. It's not everyone's like, oh, you lift weights, it's you should do yoga. I'm like, I do yoga. They're like, well, yoga is better than weight training. I'm like, how's yoga better than weight training? Explain that to me. I'm like, I love these workout snobs. And like, do you run? I'm like, only when chased. I go, I do. I walk. I wear a 30-pound vest and I walk. Well, you should run. And I'm like, I could sit here and go, okay, well, if you run, it's eventually your knees, your hips,
Yeah.
obviously, are a good problem. Oh, well, if you do yoga, there's no weight resistance, and there's not enough weight resistance for overload to create size in your body, muscle atrophy. You know, like, oh, if you lift weights, you're gonna lose your flexibility. Like, you have to take all of these things
Yes.
into consideration when putting a program together. So when you say weight training for mental, when you go for a walk, you know, I know people are into grounding and stuff, but when you're walking and you're outside and you get the vitamin D and like you know, and that also helps mentally too. That release. There's people have different releases, and when you're in yoga, my phone's off and it's in the shelf because it's hot yoga. It's 90 minutes.
Sure.
How in a day, when is your phone away from you for 90 minutes? Never.
Never.
Never. Never.
Never.
It's third hand.
You're speaking my language, man.
So it's
Absolutely.
got
That's
so it definitely
great.
helps mentally. Yeah.
So what, Frank, so that brings me in a thought, like what you just said, is how, for those people that are out there that are not in that state of mind of working out, whether it's yoga, whether it's running, it's in the gym or any type of exercise, people are struggling, you know, taking that first step, right?
Yeah.
What can you say to those people that are out there that are struggling taking that first step to motivate them to into taking that first step?
Yeah, look, even at my like, so I moved and I went to the same hot yoga studio for a decade. And there was a hot yoga studio over here that about a mile away. And for 6 months, I kept driving past this hot yoga place. And I'm like, I don't want to go there. I'd rather drive the 40 minutes to the other place. Like, they're like, why? I'm like, I don't know the people. I
Right.
don't know how the yoga is. Am I good enough? And like, and look,
Mm.
you know, so I finally got the courage to go there. went in there, and it turns out I knew the woman who owned the place. I trained at her studio 15 years ago. People were amazingly nice. I go there now. I'm like the mayor. I'm talking to everybody. Great class. But it took me 6 months
Mm.
to go there. And that's me.
Yeah.
I'm like, people like, what are you nuts? Like, like, what are you worried about? And I was like, I don't know. So
I would agree with them.
they're like, you're like, look, so I was like, okay, now I could put myself in the shoes of people and understand. They used to say when we had the home workout, the biggest, what was it? The longest journey that you'll ever take in your life is from the couch to in front of the TV to do the workout DVD.
Mm.
So I was like, oh, okay. So the only thing that you could do as far as motivating people, because they're going to do what they want to do. You can't like give somebody a pep talk and they're going to be in fight or flight, like I hate this or whatever. That you have to pick a workout, like you have to be realistic, number one, in picking out a workout place. And you have to pick something that's geographically good, because like if you're a half hour to the gym, you're not going to drive a half hour to the gym every day. If you're a
Right.
mile, you're going to go there for the first, it's going to be easier for you. So you want to make convenience a huge part of picking out your workout, facility or your program. But I think what I used to do is I had a checklist I would give to people to get them motivated. And it'd be like, and a couple of things on the checklist is like, you know, what are you doing to get yourself better? What are you waiting for? Like really personal, deep questions. Like,
Yeah.
what's stopping you? Because you got to get to the root of the problem. You can't just let it fly over your head. So for me
Right.
to say, and sometimes, you know what, man, it takes a good friend, a relative, somebody
Yeah.
who's like, hey, come with me, some sort of support system. Sometimes it's easier when people do things in groups because they don't feel alone. So if someone comes to me and they're like, I tried to go to the gym, I'm scared or whatever, and I'm like, oh well, do you want to come with me?
Yeah.
Come with me to yoga. Come with me. We'll go for a walk. Come with me to the gym and I'll show you this. Because look, people are scared sometimes to go to Bev's Francis Powerhouse Gym. They're like, oh my God, all the bodybuilding champions are there and this and that, and they're gonna make fun of me. But honestly, some of the most supportive people
Without a
who
doubt.
are like, oh, you need help? Oh, that's cool. Sometimes you see somebody who's 200-300 pounds overweight and like, you don't look down on them. I'm like, oh, like, hey, you need help? I always say hi, like try to make people feel comfortable. But I think there's a laundry list of things that people have to really reveal about themselves before you can say, why aren't you going to the gym? And sometimes it's just friggin' lazy.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's deeper than that, But to motivate, look, everyone's doing it January 1st, the gyms are packed.
Yeah. Yeah.
See how many people. I mean, it all comes down to the right program too, because I see all these friggin' ridiculous programs on TikTok and everything else that you set yourself up for disaster. So I feel badly for some of these people because they'll come in, they have all great intentions. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this 30-day program, and after 3-4 days, they can't do it. It's too advanced.
Advanced.
So
Yeah.
now they got the courage to, like you said, start, but now they're done
Yeah.
because now they're like, well, this is way too hard. I'm a failure. I can never do this. So you got to pick something that's on your fitness level. And I always tell people, I was getting ready for this charity calendar last year for dogs. And I got down to like I'm usually around 235, 240, and I got down to like 225. And they're like, how did you do this? Did you cut your carbs and you do this? I'm like, no. I was like, I increased my workload. I went for walks. I put a 30-pound vest on and I started doing 3 to 5 miles every day.
Yeah.
And it kept peeling off. There was no exotic machine, or
No magic bullets, right?
excuse me. Yeah, it's like there was none of that. So I was like, all right, So it's sometimes, you don't need a celebrity trainer or you
Right.
don't need this or that. Sometimes you just gotta really keep it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple. It's like, it's just it. No matter what you no matter what you kind of program you put together, doesn't it all boil down to like weights? You know, the same weights. Like you're not gonna reinvent a curl. You're not gonna reinvent the bench press. You know,
Not changing movements there.
you can rename it because I know people like, you know, stiff-legged deadlifts became RDLs at one point, you know, everything else.
Yep.
And, you know, muscle gains became hypertrophy. Like it's all like, you know, so it's like,
Got a little more
it's all
scientific, I guess, as we went along.
it's all the same thing.
Very true.
Yeah. I
Very
love it. I love his word connection. Don't you, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Frank. Last week we did a whole episode on like word of the year. So picking a word, kind of like along the same lines like New Year's resolution type of thing, but actually a word that's dedicated to you for the year that would mean something to you every single day that you would carry throughout your day. So like I used connected. So for me, like 2025, I want to be connected to everything I do. This podcast, this is new to me. Different types of connections I'm making in the gym, in work, wherever else being, and stuff like that, and how I could utilize these connections throughout 2025. Russ, what was your word, just real quick?
Certainty.
Certainty.
Yeah. My word last year was intentional. So that applies to everything that you've said, Frank.
Yeah.
Right? Just getting up and being intentional about every aspect of your life. Whether you're going to the gym, you're in the garage, you're outdoors, be intentional about it. But it applies to everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Mine would be patience. You know why? Because I have so many things going on and you want success out of all of, you know, out of everything that you do. So it's like, but you have to realize that you have to have patience in that these things have to, you know, progress and what have you. So like sometimes you'll get manic and you'll like, all right, let's do this. But you have to slow down, you have to have patience, and you have to let these things happen. And I always use the hashtag, which is 2 words, but not in a hashtag. It's I'm like, be you. So be you is my favorite because like no matter what I do or who I come into contact with, I'm the same. So if I'm training with my training partner, my cookie dealer, Juan Morel, he's like ex bodybuilder. We train, we're laughing. If I'm on a podcast with Mike Tyson or if I'm whatever I'm doing, I'm like I'm myself because I'm not gonna put on a fake persona or be someone I'm not. Like and that's good and bad because I was an IFBB pro judge for like, you know, 15, 16 years.
Right.
And I'm honest and people don't like honesty sometimes because like if you came to me and you were like and you were a bodybuilder and you're like, what do I need to do to get better? Right? Take a look at my physique or whatever. And I'm gonna tell you what's wrong with you. Now, you can be that's a slippery slope because people will be like, oh, he's an ass because he, you know, he said I need this and this and my parents said I have the best abs in the world and my girlfriend says I have the best that. But you have to have a thick skin sometimes. You know, when people ask for your honesty and you give it to them, it's not always well accepted. When I used to compete, Steve Weinberger, who owns Bev Francis Gym, he'd be like, I go to his rest and you're like, he's like, all right, go, you know, do 100 carbs for 10 days in a row. And you're like, oh God, you know, you just do it. So when someone was getting ready for a show, like, well, they said, well, why didn't I do well? And I'm like, well, you know, you didn't, you know, you need to be a little bit more hard. You need to be harder. You need to, you know, a little bit more back. You're not wide enough, this and that. They think there's some sort of conspiracy, you know, or what have you. So, or it's just funny, honestly. Like some people, they're like, oh, you know, they'll ask you something like, oh, cool, you want to, you know, I can get you on muscle. We could do something for muscle and fitness, and they're like, really? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, what's the catch? I'm like, there's no catch. We'll put you. We're shooting here. Come in. And so it's funny how some people react to, you know, being honest and what have you. But I'm always myself when it comes to, you know, to everything. Like you know, if you watch every single podcast, every single interview, there's no persona. I can't stand, you know, like I know people personally, and they're interviewing people, and they're like, yeah, well, oh, and yeah, this guy's great, and this, and then he gets off, and he's a complete dick. Like, like, I know this guy, he's a jerk, like, he's a dick. I'm like, who is he? He wouldn't piss on this guy if he was on fire. He was like, he's gonna help this guy. I'm like, there's no way, like, who are you kidding? Like, I hate those people. So, like, it's just like, this is so phony.
That's
When it's
fun.
something in it for them, then they'll be like, then they're the nicest people. But when they're off camera, they're not they're not really what they present themselves to be.
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
I always love that statement. Who you are when no one's looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ask
Right?
my dog. Ask my dog. He's laying over there somewhere. he's like, he's like, there it is. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, Frank, you got a lot of people that follow you and whatnot, but when people are trying to find you that don't know you or watching the show for the first time, and trying to connect, how do people find you on social media? How, where can they follow you? All that kind of great information that you got.
Yep.
Oh yeah, the easiest place to find me is Frank_Sepe SEPE on Instagram. Yeah, I'm also on Facebook, X, what have you, and you go to the muscle and fitness platforms, all the social media platforms. We're always doing some content on there. But yeah, it's funny how you get I get a lot of DMs every day. It's interesting. Some are really I should write a book on the comical DMs that you get because you don't know who's who. Like, like people, catfish, people are presenting themselves as, as different people and what have you. But you can weed through that. But yeah, it's the easiest way is on Instagram. Or if you want to see me in person, I go to Beb's every Saturday. I'm training with Juan Morel on Saturday. We're doing we do our
That's
leg
awesome.
workout.
I'm definitely coming over there to train with you guys.
You're a Long Island guy, right?
I am, yeah. I am.
Whereabouts?
I'm in Belmore.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm in Centerport right now.
All right, yeah.
I was in Smithtown for a long time, but I grew up in Rosedale, which was right on the border. So yeah, Valley Stream, Rockville Center, Long Beach, all those things. So yeah.
Not too far away. Yep.
And my son lives in Wantagh.
Oh, it's right next to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right next to me.
My son's 16 and he's 6 foot, almost 6'2", like 240, 250.
Wow. 240.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right?
He's a huge boy.
Yeah. I was with him the other day. And I'm like, wow. Like, wow, that time flew by,
Yeah, right.
Absolutely flew by, which is crazy. I don't know. Time goes by. But that's the thing now. People always like, what are your goals now? It's funny because people come up like, don't you miss being big? And I'm like, if I wanted to be big, I would be big. It's not very difficult. Eat and train heavy, So right now, I have a whole bunch of stuff going on with filming. So I wanted to start a week ago, but I got sick. Which I'm never sick, but I got sick. I guess everyone's getting a respiratory infection here in Long Island, New York City.
Yeah.
But next week I'm going to start getting ready for some charity stuff. I'm really big with Mike Ruiz and doing these charity things for dogs.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I see that a lot on your Instagram and stuff. Yeah, I've seen you post a bunch.
Mike's a famous photographer. Shot hundreds of covers of Rolling Stone. Like, if you name a celebrity, he shot them. And back in the day, I had a studio in Manhattan. I was an office and had 2 gigantic photography like things. And so I met Mike there, and we became friends. And he shot the first cover of my book. So at the time, he was getting like $50,000 a photo shoot, and he's like, "Yeah, just give me some metrics I had in my office, and give me like $500, whatever." I was like, "What?" So he shot the first cover of my book, but we became friends over the years, and so he does this charity calendar, Hunks and Hounds, Mutts and Muscles, all these guys. So he gets all these like great guys and guys in great shape, and they, basically hold a dog that's going to be adopted, and then all of the money goes to Louis' Legacy.
Oh, very
It's a shelter. So, and then I went to do some stuff at the shelters in New York. So it was funny. Mike goes, "Come to the shelter in Queens." I said, "Okay." He goes, "We're gonna do some videos and get some dogs adopted." I'm like, "Okay, cool, no worries." I get there, they're all pit bulls. So I didn't know, like I'm sitting there and like, you get nervous about, oh my God, it's a pit bull, right? Like, and they're in a shelter. So we're sitting there and there's a camera and they let each pit bull in. And I was a little hesitant. I'm like, wow, but they were the nicest dogs. Like
or the
I
pitbull.
never met this pit bull sitting there licking my face. And it's not, but we were able to get it. But I was like, I didn't know. I'm like, adopt dogs. I was waiting for like a little Pomeranian to come out of the, you
Yeah.
know, but we were able to get like 4 out of the 7. You
Oh, it's
know,
great.
yeah. And in the calendar, I raised like 6 figures.
Wow,
Yeah, did really well for the animal. So
that's great.
so
Awesome.
that so I'm gonna start getting in shape for that, and for muscle and fitness, Sepe nutrition, and all this other stuff. I think I have about 100 and something shoots, video shoots and stuff.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so
Wow.
got to start getting that together.
Awesome.
It is what it is.
All right, Russ.
That's
You got
awesome.
for Frank.
What a day.
What a
You're
day.
good.
What a day.
That was great.
know,
That was great.
Yeah, anytime.
One of the things that we like to end our show with is
Yeah.
is that wellness is not perfection. It is progress.
Yeah,
Yeah. What do you think about that? Because we like to close with that statement. Wellness is not perfection, it's progress. Can you make one last comment regarding that?
yeah. Well, it's funny because that was one of the quotes in my books was from that Frederick Douglass. That's where that quote originated. It was originated from, progress. What was it? Say it one more time.
Wellness is not perfection.
Yeah,
It's progress.
progress over perfection. Yeah, it's not. Look, no matter what you do in like as far as eat clean, take your supplements, train, you will never ever be the perfect human being. You can only get better and make progress. And that's what it's about. I tell people all the time, look, they have these aspirations of looking like this. I'm like, just get better every day, make progress, and you're going to be so much happier. Whether your goal is mobility, flexibility, general health, whatever, just work on getting a little bit better every day. No matter what we do, there's take celebrities, pro bodybuilders, everyone. No one, well, I hope no one is perfect. Only AI. Only AI is perfect.
Sure.
So if you're looking to, if your goal is I want to be perfect, it's never going to happen. But your goal should be I'm going to get better and progress. And I love that statement. And it's people should live by that because too many people are worried about getting the perfect physique. And it's never going to happen. There are pictures, hundreds of thousands of photos I've taken. There's maybe 2 that I really like. You know what I mean? Like, I don't sit there. I never sat there with my camera. I'm like, wow, that's perfect. I always look and I was always like, you know what? You know what? I could get better doing this, and this. Like, look, and you might be great at some things and not great at others, but look, man, just, like you guys said, it's progress over perfection. And that's where a lot of people fail, Russ, is like, they're worried about being perfect. And when they don't, if they're 30 pounds overweight and they lose 20, and they don't celebrate that, and you have to celebrate those milestones in order to keep yourself motivated. They just like can't take it. They get manic and they're like, oh my God, I got this 10 pounds, I'm hideous, look away. It's like you just lost 20, celebrate it's gonna take time.
Sure.
And then what happens when that, you never get satisfied. People sometimes never get satisfied, but yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, we appreciate you.
Greatly
We
appreciate
thank you.
coming on,
We
Frank.
thank you for
so
taking
much.
the time out today, man.
Thank you
You
so much.
guys,
for with
you
us.
guys should come to Bev's and work out with us for a
I'll be
day.
there.
That would be cool. Like
I'll be
that would be cool. Come down. Have you ever gone to Bev Francis gym?
I've worked out at Bev's. Yeah, a few times I've worked out there, but I haven't been there in quite some time now. But yeah, I'd love to come down one day.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds good. We'll work on progress because none of us will be perfect. I can guarantee. The one thing I can guarantee
Love
you
it.
that one of us will be perfect.